Hey, this is Big Guy Robert, DIY, coming to you with not boat repair, it's a boat accessory. I've worked on this boat before. I put a video in earlier. I think it was back in the spring of this year. It was replacing the starter on it. So in the process of replacing the starter, he also asked me to replace the bilge pump, which is no big deal because there's no way you're going to replace a bilge pump in this boat. Let me turn around and show you what I'm talking about. So here's my access. Can't see the bilge, can you? No matter what. Well, it's right there. So when I replace the starter, you have to you have to remove all the interior, all of this bench seating to get access to the starter, which is underneath the block back here, right there. And then while I was there, I did the bilge. It's the only way you're going to get at it. Now, he wants me to install a shut-off switch. And depending on the type of boat you have, there are different rules to this game. All right, one is the placement of the switch, access. I played around with this and thought about it for a while. We're gonna go right here. It's simple. There's nothing on the underside of this, so I can through bolt it right here. I can run my wiring up underneath the gunnel, and it'll follow the steering cable right there, and then attach to the battery. The positive connection off the motor, which is actually both of these, they will have to run up along the steering cable all the way up to the switch. So there's two power cables. One is to start the engine, and this is your helm, your accessories and all that stuff. What is happening is when his boat is sitting in the slip, the battery's always going dead. And I know why. It's this battery here, your accessory switch. Any vehicle, any boat, anything that has a radio in it, those draw power 24/7. There's actually two power cables to a stereo. One is for power that goes to the battery. Well, they both go to the battery. One is for power to make the stereo work. The other one is power to maintain the memory settings that are within it. So I don't care if you got a truck, a car, a boat, a UTV. If you got a stereo with memory built into it, it's going to have power 24/7. So that brings us back to the back here. Bilge. A bilge should never run through a battery switch. Why? Is because this boat sits at a slip. Should you get a bad rainfall and the rear of the boat fills up with water, that bilge needs to turn on. So in a sense, that bilge has to run live, always. Now when it's plugged in, or when the bilge is attached, it's not drawing any power at all. This one is not, because it has a float. So what happens is when the float, when water levels increase, the float kicks up, that completes the circuit, and that draws power from the battery. So that's the only time a bilge will kick on. There are bilge pumps that have sensors in them. So when they sense water inside the area, they have to kick on, and that sensor draws power. So the better bilge for not drawing power is the one with the float. Now when I install this, I always leave the additional wire on the bilge. I don't cut it short to make it fit. So I had to dig down underneath here because I zip tied it pretty well underneath here. I need to get to one wire. There's 3 wires on a bilge pump with a float. There's usually a solid brown wire, a brown wire with a white tracer, or a brown wire with a red tracer. Bilge pumps will always tell you which one is the live wire. This is the live wire here, if I can get the tag, showing you connect to positive. So that means this should always run to the battery. The other wire, well, this one here has an orange tracer. Nope, white tracer. That one goes to the switch on the dash. So if your float is not working, you can override it with the switch on the dash. So one thing I notice is my wiring here, for some reason, is pulled out. So I'm going to correct that, because that should be waterproofed all the way through. So what we're going to do here is we're going to disconnect this one here. I'm going to cut it from this end here and just leave this end closed up. I'll put some silicone on it, life seal silicone, to seal it. This is the wire here that runs to the battery through their loom. So we're not going to use that. We're going to take that wire, run it along the bottom here, all the way across and up to the switch. I can also run it across and up this way right to the battery itself. I'll have to see what I have for wiring. I probably will just do some loops, wire loops, and run it right to the battery and then label it. I just make a label, put it on the wiring, writing as bilge. So you can see the current wiring that's in the boat. That's what I'm going to run the battery wires. I'm going to just zip tie them all together up behind these. So let's get started. I'm going to put this in time lapse while I work on this wiring. We have it installed. So this is a live bilge wire, which is the small red one, which I ran down here all the way across, up, reattach it. So I had it incorrect. The wire that was attached to the brown with the orange tracer, that goes to the switch. No, that's the live one. The one that goes to the switch is what this is supposed to attach to. The one that says touch to positive, that I have going to the switch. And so from the bilge pump, it's the white, brown with the white chaser is attached to my live wire running to the bilge. So that side is done. I was kind of crazy because with the two wires, you get this one and then this one. This is actually trim and tilt. I thought it was the accessory wire that fed the dash, but apparently not. It is fed through this wire. That feeds the dash as well as the motor, the starter. So I had to play around until I could figure out what wire was doing what before I can figure out the live wire to the bilge. This bilge does not appear to have the manual float. I think it has the sensor, the auto sensor for water. So nothing I can do about that. If it does, it's gonna drain the battery anyways, but you gotta have it live. So next, install this. Actually, next I'm gonna run my wires all the way around. So I have to change the wire on this. This is to the trim and tilt. I already bought wiring for that. And I have my somewhere connections to hook that up. So let's work on that, getting the trim and tilt wiring redone. So it's getting dark out, obviously. So here's my wire that goes to the starter, and this other black wire here, well, it has a cover on it, that goes to the trim and tilt. So I run them up, attach them to the cable, and then put on my connections and shrink wrap them. As for connecting the cables, there's two ways of doing that. One is you can buy these butt connectors. This butt connector is for a 6 AUG, 6 gauge, 6 AUG. I don't know what the gauge is, but they call it a 6 AUG. And then there's a kit. What do I do with it? Here we go. Heat shrink kit. So it gave me, I should have showed it before I installed it, but it was a brass butt connector with 2 screws in each end. So the screws screwed in. So if we use this for an example, there was a screw here and a screw here. So as your wires came in each end, the screws went in into the wire. Then you were given a large shrink tube. I'm seeing if I had some sitting around here. Here's shrink tubing right here. It gave you a large shrink tube in the kit. And so that is what is shrink wrapped around those, the shrink tubing. So I've sealed those extensions or connections off. So next, we are going to install our switch here, which will be through bolted. It comes with the hardware, the bolts, and that'll be installed here. The wiring on this switch, because all switches are different, I have to knock out the side here. So the wiring will come into one side and then come out the other side. Cable. If you're trying to find battery cable, you're not going to find it in a regular store at all. I went to four different stores today because I knew the cable from the trim and tilt is a 6-AUG, and I knew the cable from the starter is a 2-AUG. You're just not going to find that, especially where I live. I'm not near the shore, so there's a chance that, you know, if I was closer to the shore, I can go into like a West Marine or a well-supplied marine store and buy the cable I need by the foot. But I don't have that access. I do have a couple small boat dealers near me, but their supply is extremely limited, and it's not like they're going to have spools of battery cable for people to purchase, because no one does this. It's not like nuts and bolts where everyone's always buying nuts and bolts. Battery cable is just rare few. So what I did is I went to my hardware store. My local hardware store sells a variety of battery cables, jumpers. They range from as small as 10 AUG to as large as 2 AUG. I definitely didn't want to buy the 2 AUG. I don't need it that thick for everything, and I'm only extending it by 2 feet. So I bought a jumper cable. This one is 4 AUG. It's at 16 feet long, and I just separated the black side from it and cut the big huge alligator clips on the end of it. What I like about this, it's pliable. It allows me to work with this a lot easier than if I bought one that had copper strands in it, which has zero flexibility to it. Whenever you buy wire in a marine store, you'll find if you get those small spools of wire where it's like 14 AUG, 12 AUG, or 16, they'll all have the same core. It's this silver tint. It's a silver tint type wire. It just allows it to be a little more flexible so you can work with it. They're not going to be solid copper majority of the time now. So that's where I got this cable in order to extend it in there. So 16 feet gave me just enough where I have this left. This is just enough to get from my switch, I'm hoping, from my switch to the battery, and probably with nothing to spare. It looks like I got maybe 3 feet left. I hope it reaches, because that means I have to go out and buy another battery cable for, I think the battery jumpers cost me $70 for the 4 AUG, or 6 AUG. Did I get 4? No, I got 4 AUG. The 2 AUG was $90 for 18 feet, 16 feet. I'm only using one side of it. It's just a 4 AUG is going to be perfect for this. It's going to be fine. I know some people are going, oh, you should be using marine grade copper, blah blah blah. I use what I have available around here, and I'm not going to drive hours for a 16 or 18 foot piece of wire. That's just waste of money. So for now, we're going to sign off. I'm going to install this tonight with my headlight on, and like I said, it's through bolted. I have somewhere in this bloody pile, I have the base to it. because there is a base to this. Oh, here we go. Here's a base. So here's the base. I'm just going to use a marker to mark the holes on there, drill that out, attach my wires, and then we'll be good. So I will show this coming tomorrow, because I'll be back on this again. Bilge pump, live wire going to the battery. Battery switches off. So my live setup for the bilge is working. What I did is I put a plug in the back of the bilge, and all right, I apologize for the lines in the earlier part of the video. I noticed when I was looking at it, when I have my headlamp on, which is a rechargeable headlamp, when that's on, that LED light is creating interference with my camera. So I'm doing this during the day. I ran my third wire, which is this. I ran it around, and I labeled it BAT for battery. So that way I know I'm keeping these separate. Now, one thing I wanted to show you with this, I'm going to set the camera up and talk while I do that. When you have two connectors that have to go on one stud, if you look at the shape of this connector, and I'm hoping it's in the camera, I'll take a look here. Yeah, you can see how it's flat on one side and then curved on another side. So when you have two coming on the stud, you want to put them back to back. See how much flatter it is versus this way, because they don't align correctly. That even goes for when you're putting it on the battery. Go back to back, it'll sit flatter and you get more of the nut on. So first one goes on upside down, next one right side up. Lock washer, nut. Now, it does not matter which stud is my battery and which stud is power on this type of switch. It does matter on a multi-switch. Multi-switch meaning two or more batteries, because then it's labeled. So the signs here, it's just a window that slides in and out. That's all it is. So you just pull the window out that you need and then drop it in there. Here's my backing plate. The studs already come with the kit, Allen wrench tip, and then it's a nylock nut that goes on the back side. One thing that's very important are these holes. They're drilled to size, but they're not countersunk. And I did that kind of not on purpose. You want to countersink these because once you have a hard side of gel coat against a bolt, it will spider crack immediately or a big chip will come out. So I'm actually going to go grab my drill and countersink all 4 of those holes so you can see what it looks like when I say countersink. But let me get in close so you can see what it looks like just as a general hole. See? So when a screw goes in or any bolt goes in and hits that edge, it's going to either take a chip or crack this gel coat. And that'll go for pretty much any boat. So let me get my drill and fix this. So this is a countersink. And all I'm doing now I've taken away that sharp edge that would normally be in a hole. So let me install this because I'm upside down right now and it's kind of hard to record that part. So let me set the camera up so it's aiming at it. So the switch was provided by the owner. Normally when I put a switch up, I will put a fender washer on the back side of this underneath. So there's a better hold, but this is a very light switch. It's tiny. I really don't believe it's necessary to do a fender washer. I think the nuts themselves will be good enough to hold it. So we're gonna attempt to get the top one done upside down. Here we go. Here we go. Gonna clip off a couple wire ties, clean it up a little. All right, we are done. We are installed. So I made the switch easy. You can see this is the back seat. There's a switch, he just opens up the back and it's right there. Wiring, access to the battery and the wiring is very accessible. Everything except for this end here, everything is sealed. All the connections, butt connections. Going on the bilge side here, everything is sealed, even the open end. If you can see this little black lump right here, that's life seal silicone on there. Now I mentioned earlier in the beginning of the video that I used jumper cable because that's the only kind of wiring I have available to me around here. I'm not going to find a marina store or anything nearby that's going to have the wiring that I need. So that's my gauge, 6 AUG. At 16 feet. Here's the rest of the information about it. And yeah, this was 40 bucks for that. And then a 4 AUG was, I don't know, 60. And then a 2 AUG, which I felt was way too thick for my needs and for what I needed for the boat. That was $80 or $90, $80, $90, something like that. So, excuse my voice and clearing my throat. I'm actually positive for COVID right now. I'm on the tail end of it, but 7 days into it, COVID's really knocked me on my ass, I have to say. Excuse my language. But I didn't have it mild, like so many other friends said they did, but I did not. But I feel a little better today. I wanted to get this video done because I had the wiring and everything installed 8 days ago, and I've not been able to do anything because I've been flat on my back. So this is Big Guy DIY Robert coming to you with another video on how to install a battery switch with a live bilge. Again, a live bilge means even if the battery switch is off, that bilge will still work, and that's very important, especially if you're keeping your boat at a marina in the water. If you're worried about battery charge over the long term, install and if your marina has power that you can run an extension cord to, I would install a battery tender. You can get these extensions which will attach to a battery, the terminals, and then the other end will be a male-female plug that'll attach to the battery tender, and you just keep that plugged in. Keep the whole battery charger inside the boat, but just have the extension cord come out of your boat and go to a socket there at your local marina. This marina does not have that option, so he's at the mercy of the battery itself. All right, Big Guy Robert signing off. Have a good one. Don't forget to give me a like, thumbs up, and any questions, definitely rifle them below. I've done quite a few of these little battery switches. To me, they're pretty simple, but I don't want to assume that everyone understands it. So, have a good one.